On March 15th, 2012, Film Courage sat down with filmmaker Morgan Spurlock at a press roundtable interview regarding his movie ComicCon Episode 4, A Fan's Hope, along with one of the doc stars, Holly Conrad. This audio is an excerpt of that interview. To find out more about this amazing look at Comic-Con and the fans that attend, please visit ComicConMovie.com.
Well, I just thought of this question. What superhero powers did you have to count on when faced with a challenge?
Well, I do have this mustache. So I have the power of mustache. I get mustache power whenever I need it. And luckily I had the power of about 149 other people in making this movie. I mean, we had the biggest crew I've ever worked with in my life in making a movie. It was massive, a huge camera department, audio department. At any given time, there were in as many as 25 to 27 cameras shooting at once to capture the whole of Comic-Con and all its glory. But it was a massive undertaking. I had great people and a great cast, you know. So thank God we had amazing stories like Holly and James Darling and Say Young and Skip and Eric. So it was good.
And you had God on your side, Stanley.
That's right, and I had the God of Comic-Con who was watching over us. Yeah.
Hey, Morgan, I wrote the book Progressive Hollywood, People's Film History of the United States that you were in. Yeah. Yeah, you bought a copy from the Academy.
That's right.
Good to see you again. Your work has often had an anti-corporate edge. Can you discuss the commercialization of Comic-Con and the issue of the purists versus the other non-comic book specific participants?
Yeah, I think that people love to say that it's not what it used to be. Comic-Con's not what it used to be with comic book vendors. And my very first Comic-Con that I ever went to, and I was probably it wasn't San Diego Comic-Con, but a comic book convention when I was probably 11, 12 years old in Charleston, West Virginia, where I grew up. It was at like the ballroom at a hotel there, and there were comic book vendors. There were people there selling comic books, and there were guys selling all the toys and tie-ins from those comic books already that existed in lunch boxes, because that was back when lunch boxes were still a big deal. And then there were people doing autographs, and like the guy who played C-3PO was there signing autographs. And so already then it was bigger than just somebody selling you a comic book. And I think that what's happened is it's just continued to blossom as these things have become infinitely more popular. As it comes down to reading comics, I read more comics now than I read as a kid. I buy more comics now than I ever did as a kid. I don't buy physical paper comics. I download everything straight to my iPad now, which I think that ease of use has made consumption of comics even easier to a greater audience. So I don't buy into the idea that it's destroying or changing comic book industry. I think maybe people aren't buying old paper comics anymore, but I think that this commercialization has only helped the industry because it has made it so immensely popular. Like, good luck turning on the TV in July and not even seeing a story in Omaha, Nebraska about Comic-Con. That's how popular this has become. And it literally is this triumph of geek culture in that everybody's a geek now, and everybody can proudly say it, and you can go outside, and you can wear your Dakota rings, and you can put on your Spock ears, and you can wear your Hobbit feet to work, and and be like, listen, this is who I am. And people are like, oh yeah, he's a geek. It's kind of cool. The obsession is now not seen as being a negative.
Would you say you have more going on right now than you did in 2004? It seems like suddenly after Super Size Me, everybody returned my phone call.
It becomes a very different world when people call you back, and when people actually want to work with you, and with this film I've had the fortunate the luck to work with someone like Stan Lee, with Joss, with Thomas Tull, with Harry Knowles. It's a dream come true, this movie.
Apart from everyone being huge fans of just comics in general, how did you decide to kind of narrow the field down? What were you sort of looking for as a thematic through line in all the people that you were profiling?
Well, I think the key for us from the beginning, when I got the idea, and it was myself and my producing partner, Jeremy Chelnick, we were at Comic-Con making the Simpsons 20th anniversary special for Fox when we kind of said, let's make a movie about this. I met Stan. Stan was the one who said, we should make a documentary. I was like, yes, we should. And literally that night, Jeremy and I were like, what's the movie about? Who would be in it? What would we do? And we for me and for he and I both, we realized that to tell the story of Comic-Con is to tell the story of fans. It's to tell the story, because Comic-Con wouldn't exist if it wasn't for fans. Video game culture wouldn't exist if it wasn't for fans. The movies that are so big and popular wouldn't exist if it wasn't for them. And so we wanted to root it in fan culture, the people who literally are the driving force of Comic-Con, and the people who are the passion. And so we started thinking about, well, who are those people? What do they do? And so whether you're a comic book vendor who's been doing it for the last 30 years, or you're somebody who is making a costume to go compete in the contest, or you're taking your portfolio to like lay it in your ego and the tables in front of, the people of Marvel, DC, or Dark Horse, we wanted to make sure it was rooted in those stories that a lot of people maybe wouldn't get to see or understand or have access to. The collector, somebody like Anthony Calderon, who literally drove 6 hours just to go get his Galactus figure, the only place that you can buy it at Comic-Con. I think that type of passion is incredible. So for us, we really wanted to root it in them first, with the offshoot being, the people that you expect to see at a Comic-Con, like a Kevin Smith or a Seth Green or a Seth Rogen or something like that.
With the characters you followed from the beginning before you hit the con, how did you find them? What was the recruitment process there?
We had a massive casting call. Like, we sent it out through comic book shops. We had like signs that were put up in comic book shops. We had mailings that went out through other cons. San Diego Comic-Con helped us with some mailings from them. Ain't It Cool News, Harry basically put it out on their website that we were looking for people for the film, and we got probably 2,000 submissions from around the world. People who sent us first they sent us paper submissions, then we went through all those, whittled them down, and then went back to them and said, could you send us videos? Those people sent us videos, and then from those we whittled them down. Holly was one of the first videos we got. She was probably the first person that we said, yes, this is a story we want to tell, because of just the imagery of her in her garage with her friends, making this costume, telling her story, how this is all she's ever wanted to do. That to her, like, the video game cultures of like Mass Effect, that this is like the Star Wars of her generation. Like, these are where her stories come from. For me, there was so much that I related to with her story, and I showed it to everyone, to Stan and Joss and Thomas and Harry, and they were all like, she's perfect. She's exactly what this movie is about. And then she literally became kind of the model of like who else should be the people that we want to follow in this movie. And there are people who I think shared the passion that Holly had, and kind of have this vision of that the Comic-Con is a very special place where things out of the ordinary can happen. Where you can get a career. You can buy the toy that you want if that's the whole reason you want to go to. But there's other real fulfilling things that can happen there.
Holly, how has life changed for you since the filming of the whole project, and now you're blown up. You're on 2,000 of hits. Your audition.
Oh yeah.
How does this feel? I know probably the effect hasn't hit yet because the movie's not out. But what is
that? I'm not even thinking about that. That's too intense for me. But no, I mean after all of that happened, like my life changed absolutely completely. Like I ended up leaving Highland and San Bernardino, moved to LA. I ended up working for BioWare. I did a bunch of costumes for them for Comic-Con. I was their official femme chef for a couple cons as well, and I did that. And we did a live-action trailer for them. And I actually recently did a project with Say and James. They were doing producing and art directing, and I did production design. So I actually got to make creatures and monsters for a short that we all worked on too. So it's kind of been like meeting people, doing cool things, and spiraling out of control into awesomeness.
Do you actually do costumes for people? Because I have a costume from Comic-Con that's falling apart. Website people go to?
Honestly, I've been so busy working on stuff that I actually haven't even been able to take all the jobs I've been offered. So it's been crazy because I've also been making my own suits and doing the suits for BioWare. So it's just been, it's great, but at the same time.
You need a staff now.
I know. It's
Conrad Incorporated already.
Please, thank you. Erin Tillman, Dating Advice Girl. I actually went to Comic-Con last year and did some press, and I was kind of focusing on the whole love aspect and the whole female aspect. And it's really great, Holly, that you were he did a story on you in this movie, because I think there's a lot of girls who are going to Comic-Con now I think it's really great. So, Morgan, how important was it for you to bring in a female and like a love story in this movie? Because I think that was a really great aspect to put in there, because it could have just gone fanboy, comic book, whatever. I thought it was a great addition.
Well, I mean, I think like there's so many misconceptions people have with Comic-Con, and part of the things that I wanted to do was shatter a lot of those ideas and stereotypes with the movie. I think the film shows there are really cool, smart, empowered, enlightening girls that go to Comic-Con that are shaping and changing this business. And hot girls. There are hot girls. There is like hot nerd love going on at Comic-Con. And I wanted to show people that that there's this other side.
Right.
Both from these women who are impacting the business, and also from this idea that you can find geek love. Like you can both come together and bond over whether it's Twilight or your Hunger Games fetishes or whatever it may be. There's something for all of you. And that's one of the things I love that is said in the films. I love Guillermo del Toro talking about it, where he compares Comic-Con to a Russian doll. He says, because within Comic-Con there are so many other Comic-Cons that I show the movie to people and people are like, I didn't even know that was there. I didn't have any idea this exists. And that there is something for everyone, no matter who you are, what your passion, that there's something for you at Comic-Con.
Well, and somebody even, I think at the end of the movie, somebody even said something about like how to meet girls.
There was a panel.
Morgan,
what happened during the filming that was unexpected to you, that surprised you? Be it a storyline or...
Well, just before we even started doing that, like the idea of Comic-Con as geek job fair, that was one of those things that until we really started talking about it, I didn't have an idea of how large a portion of the con that could actually even be, of people who were going there. And there's other parts of that we didn't even show. Like there's people who went there, apart from like Skip and Eric, who are going there to show their portfolios. Like their stories are great, and there's thousands of guys that are going there and girls that are doing just that, showing their portfolios to Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, you name it. The people who enter into the masquerade, who you ultimately have to be selected. Like there's thousands of people that submitted, of which they pick, I don't know, what is it, 50 groups? Something really small.
Which still is a lot.
Which is still a lot, to run through over the 4-hour show, which is very long. But at the same time, that was whittled down so much. The people that actually get to come and compete for the chance to kind of say, this is how good my costumes and my designs are. And when you win, it becomes a big deal. That you are recognized as being one of the best, up-and-comers in the business. And then you have people who are there doing toy design, who are there like shopping toy models and toy molds and artists, like fine artists who are there, creating artwork to sell or set up at galleries. I mean, there's so many pieces to this puzzle of I'm going to go there and show my wares and find my place in this business. That for me, I think that was probably the most surprising thing, because who knew that was like such a big part of that place. It's not just people going to play video games and sit in Hall H and watch movie trailers.
What are your favorite comic books, your favorite superheroes, and your favorite superhero movies?
When I was a kid growing up, I loved Plastic Man. Plastic Man was the comic book that I read all the time. Plastic Man was the movie as I was growing up. Like if I could make a superhero movie, I would want to make Plastic Man. Like I loved Plastic Man so much. And my superhero movies that I love, I loved Thor. Like 2 years ago, I thought Thor was fantastic. I am beyond excited for the Avengers. I can't even tell you. I think Marvel has done such a smart job of interweaving all of their universes together in all of their storylines. It's genius. I loved the Dark Knight reboot. I think that whole thing was so smart and so well done by Christopher Nolan. And even, back in the day, I remember when, as a kid, when I was probably 12 years old, no, it would have been, was it 78 the first Superman came out? I remember I went to the movie theater to see the very first Christopher Reeve Superman, and I thought it was like the most magical thing to see in a movie theater. And I just got chills thinking about it. Like I was there with one of the things that we always did as a family was we went to see movies all the time. And I remember being in the movie theater with my parents watching this film, and it was just such this magical thing that was happening watching the first Superman. And you watch it today and you're like, wow, that movie looks terrible. But at the time, it was Clash of the Titans was the same way. Like I loved Clash of the Titans when it came out, and I loved the Flash Jordan when Flash Jordan came out. It was what was his name? Tom Jones? It wasn't Tom Jones.
Sam Jones.
Sam Jones with Sam Jones.
That's on side.
Go Flash, go! Like I loved that movie.
Queen makes everything better.
Yeah, that soundtrack was bananas. You watch those movies now and you're like, maybe not so much. But at the time, time, it was so special.
Morgan, this is clearly like a popular culture type of documentary, but in the future, like what would you advise prospering or potential filmmakers specializing in documentaries?
I mean, I tell any filmmaker who's going to make a doc, I say, you better make sure it's something a story you love. That's the biggest thing. If you're going to make a documentary, it better be a story you love. And you got to think about that because you got to love it on day 794 as much as you do on day 1. Because most docs take a long time. Like this film, we basically got the idea in 2009, at ComicCon 2009. Now here we are coming up on almost 3 years from that day, and it's just now getting ready to come out into theaters. It was a long, long process. Getting the money, getting approval from Comic-Con, getting the crew together, shooting it, editing it, going to festivals, now it's coming out. So you need to really be passionate about that story. It needs to be something that you want to share. They do become your children in a lot of ways. Like I've heard so many filmmakers talk to it, but it is because you love them all. You love them all differently, but you still love them all, and, for me, it's all about your passion.
You kind of touched earlier on Skip and Eric, and I kind of want to come back to that real quick.
Yeah.
It was the two guys going for the same thing, but we saw kind of a triumph and a little bit of a tragedy. But with Skip, he's like, I just got to come back and get better.
Yeah.
And we know, like, for me with Eric, you just don't see that many African-American illustrators or comic book people. And so for him to get picked up, the whole audience just flipped out.
It was amazing.
And with Skip, so, we found ourselves crying for two different reasons. We were crying for Eric, but we were crying for Skip as well because Eric is kind of a drop in the bucket, because you have so many people that don't hit lightning the first time around. So my question is have you checked in with these two guys and how are
Eric
they
is
doing?
still in the military. Eric is still in the Air Force. He's now stationed in Germany. He has yet to see the film. I just called him. We just told him to say, the premiere of the film's going to be April 4th in Los Angeles. We really want you to come. And he's like, I have to be there. So now he's trying to figure out with the Air Force how he can be here. Since then, he's done, how many covers for Arch Enemy? 3 or 4 now. I think he's now doing some stuff for Marvel. Like the guy is so
His
gifted.
one-sheets were just
He's so talented, and his work is so clean and so impressive. And Skip, who has the passion but hasn't developed kind of a lot of the skill set, to be that level of a designer and as an artist. So he's continuing to work on his own stuff. He's working on his own graphic novel right now. He's continuing to put together a portfolio. But my prediction is after this movie that Skip will still make. I think Skip will make his own. I think he will get somebody who will self-publish his own graphic novel. I think that'll happen.
What superpower would you like to have?
I would love to be able to speak any language in the universe.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be my superpower.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Thank you guys. Thank you so much.